Don't be a scrub. Hit the thumbs up. Chillax for a few.
Just take it easy, man.
You know, that's your answer for everything, dude.
Now just go, oh. What? Do it, man. Oh, 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 snap.
What is up? What's going on, everybody? Hope you're enjoying your Saturday night. I was going to go on a little bit later, but I might have some plans. We'll see. But I was able to collect a bunch of stuff this morning. And let me tell you how I stumbled upon this information. I don't know if you guys know the name James Lucas. You guys ever heard that name before? Well, I knew that there was an interview out there with the gentleman by the name of James Lucas. And apparently, early on, in between about the 16th and the 19th, people they didn't really have that many tips. The tips really didn't start pouring in until about the 17th, 18th, 19th. So people were literally walking into the police station like, "Hey, that looks like Pat Brown," or "That looks like Tobe Lesenby," or "That's definitely Ron Logan." Like, you guys know that, right? So I'm wondering if a lot of these search warrants were stemming from those types of accusations that have started in the dozens to the millions by now. You got people in the UK who are tipping people in. Guys getting hit with the bad weather. So, on my journey for the interview with James Lucas, I stumbled upon basically because I knew the interview took place between the 16th and the 19th. But while I was looking for it, I was finding all this other stuff, videos, news reports I haven't seen on the Maxwell search warrant, a lot of stuff on the memorial ride, just stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of information, and then also there was the funeral going on. I wanted to kind of just get a look at who was out and about, who was part of the memorial ride, who's hanging out outside the memorial. I was just curious. But there was a whole lot of videos and footage that I haven't seen. Some of it is like the same footage, but they added more maybe later in the day. I know it's really strange, but I tried to find the whole all the clips where we can at least find where they try to paint the full picture. Yeah, I love the rain too. I like the smell and the sound. Hey, what's up, Zen? You talking about which one? You talking about the theory one, fooling around with some theories, or the one where I reversed everything and kind of brightened up the colors a little bit? Yeah, that one was tripping me out. I've been watching that one all day. I keep stopping it, fast forwarding it, slowing it down in some areas. Yeah, it came out well. Try to put these order and see what happens. Yeah, I think that worked.
Continues for the person who killed Libby and Abby. We're asking questions today about a warrant that was served last night in Carroll County, and investigators are still trying to identify the man. Photographs, as Naomi Paskovitz tells us, all of these developments are happening as this community plans. Memorial.
Since the sun came up, still saying there have been no arrests in the murders of those two teens. They also aren't saying whether the person who lives in this home might be a suspect. What they are saying is that the search did start here while investigators served a search warrant. Indiana State Police confirmed the warrant was related to the investigation into the murders of Libby German and Abby Williams. Neighbors and records say this is a family farm off West Bicycle Bridge Road. Investigators spent a few hours here taking pictures and looking for evidence. It was a large-scale investigation, including state police, the Carroll County Sheriff's Department, and even the FBI.
Just trying to get to be sure that we are covering our bases, to make sure that we investigate this to the fullest, and that if there was something there, that we were able to get in there and get it before it could be destroyed or could be or it could just vanish for some reason.
Detectives still want to get in touch with this man. They shared his photograph in hopes that someone might be able to help identify him. While they've been able to identify almost everyone who was on the trail around the same time as Abby and Libby that day, they haven't been able to make contact with him. Still, tips are pouring into the police department. They've had more than 200 tips just since they put out a phone number asking for people who know information to please share it. This as the Delphi community prepares for a very emotional weekend as both of those young teenagers are laid to rest. Scott?
So I'm wondering if that Maxwell warrant, if it didn't stem directly from, who was it, Tara German, who's seen him? I guess when they were driving around, they seen him walking on the railroad tracks. I wonder if that's all it takes. Like, hey, I seen this guy all in black walking, I know who it is. Who's on the railroad tracks, walking away from the scene, like right around 4, right around 5. So I'm wondering if that's all it took. Somebody come in and say, hey, I know who that is, or I've seen this person. I wonder what the probable cause affidavit on that guy looks like. I wonder what information is on there. Because, it would have to say the same thing like it said about Logan, like just probable cause of death, It's all textbook. It's all formality. Of course, if you're trying to get an arrest warrant for a murder suspect, of course it has to say that you have probable cause to believe that this person may have committed a murder and that you're going to find more evidence with the search warrant. It's ridiculous. I didn't hear that from him, but I think I heard that previously. Yeah, that's all suspicious, all that stuff. But they had to have checked him out, right? Especially law enforcement, they have his truck surrounded at the cemetery. He might be your first POI, but I guarantee he was theirs. And I don't know the whole story. Somebody needs to interview that guy. Because I heard that Mike Patty knows him and called him out there for some reason. Like, hey, can you search back there? Or something. I don't know. There's like a whole backstory behind all of that, which involves Ron Logan. Pee on your plants. Please don't pee on my. Yeah, see, we're having bad weather here too. I was hoping it was going to hit till later, but. All right, let's keep this moving here.
From Indiana's news leader, Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock starts now.
We're still analyzing what we got. It doesn't appear that it's going to be something that's going to help the case.
Police are no closer to an arrest tonight after searching a home yesterday as they try to find who killed two girls in Delphi. They're still not saying much about their investigation, but we know that they're following up on each tip that's come in.
And they've taken hundreds of those tips so far. Today, investigators were back to where those two bodies were found. They're searching for more evidence there that hopefully could lead them to the killer.
Right now, they're still looking for the man who was seen on the trail around the same time as the girl. Executed a search warrant at a nearby farmhouse, and they collected evidence but made no arrests in the case.
Eyewitness News reporter Rich Van Wyk is in Delphi tonight with the latest on what he's learned there. Rich?
Anne Marie, it's 6 o'clock on a Friday night, and there's hardly a parking space outside the police station. Investigators are working late, pushing their case, trying to get that clue that connects them with a killer who has now eluded them for more than 3 days. Delphi's city building is headquarters for what is evolving into a homicide task force. More than 40 local and state police, FBI agents, and support personnel are working the case. More than the building's phone and Wi-Fi system could handle. So Homeland Security installed a satellite communication system.
There have been no arrests. Nobody's been put in jail.
One of the hundreds of tips pouring in led police to this home a few miles outside of Delphi. They searched for hours last night, although they left with some possible evidence.
But it appears that nothing's going to come of it.
Nothing's going to come of it.
Of this specific search warrant.
Investigators are looking for a break in the 4-day-old murder case. They looked again at the crime scenes, the bridge where Libby German and Abby Williams were last known to be alive. And then upstream, past the bluffs and steep banks over Deer Creek, to a secluded wooded area where the bodies were found. News crews were free to roam these areas yesterday, but not today while police were there.
We've been getting quite a few tips. People have been calling in with information.
But no credible information yet on this man, photographed on that bridge about the same time the girls were there. Detectives want to talk with him.
We're trying to make sure we can get him identified, so at least talk to him to see what he saw, what he knows, what information we can get from him, and that may be the key to unlocking this crime.
The girls were in a popular recreational hiking area. Police are questioning many of the visitors and the searchers.
And so that is helping eliminate people, and that's part of the investigation, is to try to narrow it down to one or two people that we're looking at. And so right now we haven't got that far yet.
In the meantime, police are urging residents here to be cautious, look out, be aware. If they're on their trails, if they're anywhere, and they see someone who looks suspicious, get a description, use their phone, take a picture, and get in touch with investigators.
So, I mean, what do they have? What else do they have for the bicycle bridge location? Is that it? They just seen him walking away from the crime scene? Maybe somewhat matching the description. I've heard rumors of inappropriate exchange of images. That's some super rumor mill stuff right there. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I wonder. And I don't know. I don't know if he's spitting tobacco. I don't know if he's spitting out like a, I don't know. Could be anything really. Cigarette butt. Part of a joint. Lollipop stick. Straw. Could even be the string on his jacket. You know, a lot of people chew on the string. Maybe he's just kind of spitting it out. Yeah, but you can definitely see him spitting, and he almost appears like he has a dip. Yeah, we're going to take a look at that video before we head out. I don't want to take up too much time. Okay, I think this one here is from the 17th. So it's going to go like from the 16th, 17th to the 18th, and then some on the 19th, right in that little 3-day window there.
From Indiana's news leader, Eyewitness News at 5 o'clock starts now.
We're getting subjects that we're looking at to talk to, and we're finding those people are not the person of interest that we're looking for, or that person in the picture.
I mean, it's there. You wake up thinking about it, you go to sleep thinking about it, so, and I'm sure I'm not alone.
This weekend, a community will gather to say their final goodbyes to 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German. They were both found murdered earlier this week. And today, police continue to get tips and even interview people who may have been on that trail on Monday in Carroll County.
They searched a home last night, but it did not lead to any arrests in the case. And they're still looking for this man who was photographed on the trail near where the girls died about the time they sent their last social media post. Eyewitness News reporter Rich Van Wyk is in Delphi tonight with where police go from here in the search for a killer. Rich?
John, the headquarters for this investigation has been busy all day with lawmen from many different departments. Last night's search for evidence didn't end as well as they had hoped. More investigators were revisiting crime scenes today looking for more evidence. And for the third day in a row, investigators have been unable to identify or locate that man in a fuzzy picture taken from that bridge. Police returned to the scenes of the crime. The old railroad bridge, the girls' last known location, and the more remote area where their bodies were found. Yesterday, we walked through the woods along Deer Creek where Libby German and Abby Williams were killed. Today, police kept us out as they rechecked the areas. Delphi's city building is headquarters for what's become a homicide task force of more than 40 investigators and support personnel. Homeland Security installed a satellite communication system to handle the volume of phone calls and data.
Can you keep up with the tips that are coming in?
It's getting hard, but we are doing a good job of trying to keep the tips as fresh as possible.
Yesterday, a tip led police to this home a few miles outside of Delphi. Their hours-long search for clues to solving the murders looks like a dead end.
We're still analyzing what we got. It doesn't appear that it's going to be something that's going to help the case.
The most promising clue appears to be a photograph taken from the Monon High Bridge. It is the last place the girls were seen alive. Police say this man was also there. 3 days of detective work haven't brought detectives any closer to finding and questioning him.
We're trying to make sure we can get him identified so we at least talk to him to see what he saw, what he knows, what information we can get from him, and that may be the key to unlocking this crime.
Just before we went on the air, I was inside the building and a family came in, the father, the husband announcing, "I'm here to see FBI agent so-and-so." It's well past quitting time. People are still working here. Parking spaces are still rare. It looks like this is going to be a long weekend for investigators.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, they seem lost, right? They put Kim Riley out in front, and he seems like it may have been too much weight for him. I'm not sure. Either that or he's just not good with dealing with media and public speaking. That's where they bring in good old head scratcher Doug Carter. Yeah, I've seen somebody else flip the video. It's been done before. I mean, but what I did was I flipped it and then I kind of brightened up the colors a little bit. And then I kind of just messed with it, slow motion, back and forth. But one great thing that I caught that I've never seen before is when he walks, he's stepping with his left foot And it seems like right when he's about to turn to the girls, he like completely turns his foot, his left foot, completely turns it and then lands. So I think you guys talking about Brad Weber as a person of interest. I think it's his missing part of his left foot. I don't think he can make that maneuver. I mean, this guy literally turned his left foot and somehow managed to land on his tippy toe, it seems. And at the end of this live stream, I'll see if I can catch it and point it out for you guys. It was very interesting. I've never seen it before. Yeah, it's very strange. A lot of it's pareidolia, but the one thing that I'm noticing lately is it looks like he's holding, possibly it's not even a weapon. I mean, he could have a gun in his pocket, in a holster, who knows? But it seems like he's holding a long-handled weapon, something even possibly like a hammer, hammer or hatchet or something with a long handle. And if it is a gun, then it could possibly be a long-barreled gun, like maybe like a 1911 or something like that. Or like some type of old school 6-shooter type gun, you know. I used to think it was a Glock, but after seeing that video, yeah, and we'll talk about that. Okay. So there's good old Kim Riley. He was leading the pack back in the 18th. But he seems like he stumbles with his words. He hasn't familiarized himself with like the area. You know, he stumbles with the name of the creek, and he does that a few other times. They're like, bring in Doug Carter. Bring in the good old theater major. And I found my James Lucas video. So let's take a look at this. And we might talk about this for a little while, because it's pretty interesting.
Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock starts now.
And we're getting our first look tonight at the remote area where two 13-year-old girls were found murdered. This comes as tips are flooding into the police station for who could be behind the killings of Libby German and Abby Williams. Police are now questioning people about the case just hours after putting out an image of a man that they said they wanted to talk to.
This man was on the same trail around the same time as the 13-year-olds before they went missing. Police say he isn't a suspect, but someone they want to talk to hopefully get more information about what happened to Libby and Abby.
And police are moving fast on leads. Eyewitness News reporter Rich Van Wyk spoke with one of the people questioned by police today, and he joins us now from near the crime scene. Rich?
John, at the crime scene today, we learned just how difficult it was for the killer and their victims to get to this remote area. It's steep, it's treacherous, it's difficult. We also learned more about why police want to talk specifically to one man who was in the same area as these girls roughly about the time they disappeared. The crime scene is serene and isolated. Hard to reach, hard to leave, making it almost hard to believe such a horrible crime occurred here.
It's just hard to comprehend as to what's happened here.
Ron Logan has owned and roamed these woods for 50 years. Through the trees, he pointed to the now infamous Monon High Bridge.
At the end of the bridge there is where their last photographs were taken.
By Libby of her friend Abby. The Monday afternoon they disappeared. They were about half a mile away from where searchers found their bodies. It's a half mile of steep hills, high bluffs, and deep ravines.
No, it's not an easy trip. And I'm quite amazed that anybody knows how to get here.
Investigators say they've identified almost everyone in the area when the girls disappeared, except this man, photographed on the same bridge the girls visited. Since releasing the photo, they've received hundreds of tips.
Did he see somebody else that maybe some of the others didn't see? And so we just basically want to talk to him just to see what information he's got for us.
James Lucas says police also asked to speak with him.
It was scary. I never expected it.
So if you can group up like...
Lucas says he was one of the hundreds of searchers. Police asked him a few questions, checked his phone, then let him go.
They said if they need me later, they would get a hold of me.
All while a community is coming to grips.
So I remember this guy being kind of a big deal. Early on in the beginning of all of this, like, because he doesn't really have a Facebook, he doesn't really have all the social media. So he's kind of mysterious, but because of this interview and another article that I didn't pull because it's basically just this interview, same thing. But this guy, James Lucas, he was a big person of interest, kind of like that people would talk about in regards to the Delphi case. I don't know, his voice. Let's take a look here. We'll put him on the big screen.
Releasing the photo, they've received hundreds of tips.
Did he see somebody else that maybe some of the others didn't see? And so we just basically want to talk to him just to see what information he's got for us.
James Lucas says police also asked to speak with him.
It was scary. I never expected it.
So if you can group up like...
Lucas says he was one of the hundreds of searchers. Police asked him a few questions, checked his phone, then let him go.
They said if they need me later, they would get a hold of me.
All while a community is coming to grips with the horror of what occurred here.
Two young kids playing, thinking they're having a wonderful day, Valentine's Day, and ends up in one of the largest tragedies in Carroll County history.
In your backyard?
In my backyard. Yeah, it's a big thought. Not a good one.
Here's a good thought. Police told me that they believe they are very confident they can solve this case. They're not saying who took that picture of the man on that bridge. They are saying, though, they've received more than 200 tips so far as to who he might be. They're checking them out.
That's all right. Good.
That's a good point, Joe. Joe says, you ever wonder why no one saw him? Because he was seen, but the people that saw him at a different time wearing something different. So the scenario that plays out in my mind when I read that is, let's say the girls are at the trails, because we know that there was other kids there. That's no longer a question. They were there. That's why the girls wanted to go there. There was lots of people there. Tara German admits it. She says, my kids didn't go because they didn't know. But we do know that there was a bunch of kids down there. So basically, somebody, let's say they could even park at the Mears lot. Come out, hanging out with the girls. Maybe an older boy, 19, And then he kind of says, hey, well, I got to take off. I'm going to go do something. Goes back in his vehicle, changes, puts on a mask and a disguise, comes back to the trails. And the people that he was with, maybe they don't even know Libby or Abby. But he commits the crime, comes back, takes off his disguise, and then rejoins his group, or something along those lines, something strange, like a hiding in plain sight type of deal. I mean, how else does this guy get in and get out like that? It's either something strange like that, or he just never even was on the trails and he came in from the southeast side up the creek, or from one of those houses, or from those neighborhoods. I mean, it would be hard for law enforcement to come out and just be like, yeah, we don't really have a good sketch of this guy. We really don't know what he looks like. We don't know if we have his DNA. We don't, it'd be like coming to a card game and when they deal you cards, you just get like a clear card, it's nothing. Like you're never going to win. It's like a nightmare for them, it seems. So that was good old James Lucas, a very early person of interest. And apparently somebody tipped him in and they found it interesting enough where they called him in and they took his phone, they searched his phone, and he's got that look. He's got that Dennis Harmon look, It looks like the guy on the bridge. But when you're looking at the guy on the bridge, it's filled with blurry, pixelated movement, in and out focus, the bridge guy's moving, Libby's moving, so it's going to make the person look like this crazy looking person. I mean, there's some good stuff in there if you take the time to look for it, but if you're just glancing at it like you're thinking you're supposed to use it to try to find out who this guy is, no, you're going to think it looks like Dennis Harmon or this guy, James Lucas, or let's say like a Pat Brown. But really, just like the first sketch, you need to take away all that Pat Brownie looking Daniel Nation's face and start trying to focus on a younger looking person, I think.
I'm Dustin Grove. We are tracking the latest developments in the Carroll County homicide investigation of 2 teen girls. Let's get right to News 18's Brad Oppenheim, live from Delphi with the latest this midday. Brad?
Dustin, as of 8:40 this morning, Indiana State Police Sergeant Kim Riley had tweeted out that there was nothing new to report. Now, I actually just caught up with him a little bit ago at the Delphi Municipal Building, and he did confirm that in person that there still was nothing to report. Now, in the past couple of days, hundreds of tips have flooded in. Last night, police had a large presence at a home in Delphi as officers served a search warrant in connection to the killings of 14-year-old Libby German and 13-year-old Abby Williams. The warrant was served at a home on the 11,000 block of Bicycle Bridge Road, which is near Delphi. Nobody was arrested, but police are saying that search could be the first of many to come as more tips do roll in. Now, if you have any information, ISP has set up a tip line, and the information for that tip line is on our website. Police are also working to identify a person in a picture they released earlier this week. That individual was near the area the 2 teens were last seen Monday. Now, Mayor Shane Evans says he's humbled by all of the support from the community.
When you've got the volunteers that went out in the search parties, you've got the business community, you've got religious organizations, you've got community organizations that are coming out here to help, you've got businesses that are dropping everything to come in to provide food to families, provide food to law enforcement officers here.
Now, a memorial will be held tomorrow at the Delphi High School Gymnasium. It will run from 4 to 8 p.m. with a lantern release to follow in the middle school parking lot. Now, like Mayor Evans said, he's seen a lot of community support, and as we're walking down the main street here in Delphi, this is just one of those examples we see outside a local restaurant. The sign reads "Justice for Libby and Abby." So a lot of community support and backing, and we will continue to provide any information that we receive throughout the day online, and we'll have the latest at News 18 at 5 and 6 tonight. For now, reporting live in Delphi, Brad Oppenheim, News 18.
Good old Shane Evans. So, I mean, that's what he looked like. All you people who suspect that guy. I never could figure that out. How is he a suspect? I don't know. I just don't see it. I mean, I guess I see it in a Pat Brown kind of way. where he fits all the generic, kind of like the button chin, indented cheek to nose. Yeah, other than that, I mean, we don't have much more. Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, especially if you parked at the Mears lot. So I would be super suspicious of who was all parked there. I mean, you wouldn't need a bag. You'd just run over there, change, and then run back out. But I have a feeling that the Young sketch might be from a photo. You remember early on, law enforcement was saying, "Hey, if you were on the bridge or on the video, we would really like to get our hands on that. We'd like to take a look and see if we can see anything in those images." I wonder if somebody came forward, like even like a Cheyenne or somebody like that, and in that photo is the Young bridge guy, maybe like in the background or something. And then maybe debacle, they went with the sketch. Or maybe both. Maybe they had somebody who can corroborate what they were seeing and then eyewitness testimony. Yeah, that's like a crazy conspiracy theory. There's some people that think that the girls never even went to the trails that day. And I mean, it is kind of strange that if there's all these people there, of course somebody's seen them. But you got to remember, of course they seen them. They were probably hanging out, having a good old time. They probably even seen some boys that they were talking to. But at the time, they were minors, so that stuff kind of stays private. I'm pretty sure. So we didn't get a chance to hear any of that. But now that they're all of age, I'm hoping that someone maybe like the murder sheets or whatever would start interviewing more people. And that's just because I want to know what the rumors are. What are the rumors? What are their theories? If anybody's going to know who did it, it's going to be those closest to them. Yeah, and I have a feeling if it is like a Keegan Klein, or if it is Keegan Klein, the girls went over to Freedom Bridge and were hanging out right there with everybody. And he probably did that creepy incel. If it wasn't Keegan, whoever was using the Anthony Shots profile shows up there and maybe starts asking her weird questions that only Anthony Shots would know, or somebody that she knows personally would have knowledge of. Or maybe just be creepy, like, "Hey, you're here to meet somebody? What's his name? Anthony?" And then they're like, "What the hell? What the hell's going on?" Just like those incel videos that we were playing on that live stream a few weeks ago. Because I mean, it was the same MO. Somebody who's just had it, they're pretty much on the edge. They can't handle the teasing anymore. They just, Teresa, how can you make that analysis? Does he have like a criminal record? What's his deal? All I know is that he's related to a guy named Travis Evans, who's basically, I think, doing 50 years for assaulting a child. Oh, Vanessa, thank you. Let me go down to the super sticker. Vanessa, thank you so much. Vanessa, you are a good supporter of the channel. I appreciate it. So we probably have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 more videos. And then we're going to take a look at that flipped, reversed, and slowed version of the motion video. Putting the sketches together. Anna Lisette says 2/14/2022. Carter again spoke of putting the sketches together. He said they could be put together, but one piece would be needed to ID the killer. Are we now playing pin the nose on the killer? Yeah, it's ridiculous. And if you notice, if you watch the first presser, if you go and watch the first presser, it's a mess. You know, it's like, oh man, they're stumbling on their feet. They're just not organized. Okay, here comes 2018. They're like, all right, guys, we're not going to let this happen again. What happened to us in 2017, we're not going to let happen in 2018. And then I think they even go out to the trails. You know, they do this whole thing, piss off Randy because he was trying to get back there. You know, they block the trails. And, they give this big, this whole speech. And if you notice in 2018, they said, we're barely beginning. So when they come up with the new information and the new direction in 2019, he says, be patient with us. We're just beginning. It's like, what? Dude, you said that in 2018. Sloopy with the super sticker. Thank you, Sloopy. That's awesome, guys. Thank you so much. All right. Because of time, let's go ahead and keep this
very emotional. The community is rallying around the victims' families tonight. Some businesses are tying these purple ribbons in support of the families in solidarity for what has happened. Now, the visitation for the girls started at 4 o'clock this afternoon, will last until 8 p.m. over at Delphi High School. Now, that is a private visitation, which is why we are here in downtown to give the family and close friends the privacy that they need at this time. However, it is safe to say that it's been a very sad day as the community of Delphi says goodbye. Now, it's also a busy day for police as they chase down leads looking for who killed Abby Williams and Libby German. They were found murdered after they were dropped off to go hiking in the area of the Monon High Bridge. Police say they won't give up the search or the investigation until they find who did it. We're told Indiana State Police brought in extra detectives to help investigate. They're currently tracking down more than 200 different tips as we speak. And thousands of motorcycle riders honored Abby and Libby today with a benefit ride. The ride started at the Office Tavern in Delphi and stopped at local bars and wrapped up at the Whiskey and Wine Saloon in Monticello. It's unclear yet exactly how much money was raised, but organizers say they are thrilled with the turnout.
This is totally overwhelming, a lot more than we expected. We were guessing probably 600 people, 600 bikes, and I think we've got, right over 3,000 now. For this community to come together like it has, it's amazing. But this is your small community, so this is what Indiana's about. This is close family.
Just to help out, just to help the family. That's all I'm here for. And I prayed this morning for a great turnout, a safe ride for everybody. Get everybody here.
I was having this idea. It sounds kind of stupid. I'm gonna see what you guys think. And what do you guys think of a DNA party? Think that's ridiculous? Like, imagine if all them bikers came and they were like all gave their DNA and shit. Is that too much? Too intrusive?
Home and
just thinking out loud.
We'll see how the day goes.
And the community will continue to rally around the families of Abigail and Liberty. This pizza joint in downtown Delphi is going to have another fundraiser for the families. It's Friday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Just another way that they're trying to help the families during this very difficult time. We're live in downtown Delphi.
So as you can see, we're kind of leading into the memorial ride. A lot of faces, a lot of people kind of poking their head in. The memorial ride that I'm referring to right here was
ride to make sure the girls' families have the money they
just
need.
a few days after the
An estimated
crime.
4,000 people were there. That's more than the entire population of Delphi. Our Matt McCutcheon continues tonight's team coverage with the powerful images honoring the young lives lost.
One by one, each biker comes together, uniting to send a message of support to the families of the two girls.
Carroll County is a small county, and we're all like one big family.
We'd much rather come out here and assist the families and teach our children and then sit at home on the couch.
The tragedy hits home for so many here today, including this young family.
My last name's spelled Lanson.
Justice, I heard he was.
As a teenager too.
There's a lot of
That's why I was
decisions
looking.
that fathers and mothers make as a family, and sometimes you got to cut the rope and let them go. But other times when stuff like this happens, it kind of makes you think that maybe we should hold on a little bit more for a little bit longer.
But today is all about supporting the families of 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German.
I got room over here for someone to sign in. Please sign the guest book for the family. Make sure you get your wristband.
Every rider pays $5 and then $20 for their bike, along with prizes and raffles.
A couple tickets or a couple staff?
All the proceeds are going to go to help the families.
Brad Henry is one of the organizers who felt compelled to do something.
Nobody wants to see a child hurt.
Organizers told me they initially expected a couple hundred people, maybe 200 who would show up. It turned out to be more than 4,000 lining up all around the town square here in downtown Delphi just to take part in this memorial bike ride.
Communities, but
This guy right here, I thought for a second, when I first saw this, I thought he was TK's cop friend that lived in Las Vegas. I was like, no way. But I don't think so anymore. Just a little tidbit there.
once social media got a hold of it, it exploded.
Bring you guys around on this ramp, okay? Riders flooded downtown Delphi, with leaders having to squeeze in as many people as possible all around the town square.
It brought tears to my eyes when I was coming into Delphi just to see how many bikes were here to support. It's an awesome feeling. It's a sad situation, but it's an awesome feeling.
All in the name of our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ, and all of his children said, Amen.
A prayer begins the ride, with some family members attending. From there, a symbolic release of balloons donated by Lafayette businesses. One by one, they reach the sky, lifting the families and this community in prayer. Then the riders take off as the community tries to move on to put this tragedy behind them.
It's very sad, because it could happen to our own family. It's heartbreaking. It could happen to any of us at any time. We never know.
Matt McCutcheon, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.
Teresa, you said, in my opinion, Chadwell knew the Kleins. You know what? I know we hear that said about a lot of the other POIs, but in that case, you might be right. And I was trying to find it. I don't know what I did with it, but it's an article in a local Peru newspaper, and it's of Chadwell, and apparently there's this liquor store that's right up the street from TK's house. And Chadwell was busted stealing, I think, a case of beer. I have it somewhere. Yeah, like they reported it stolen, and then like 5 minutes later, a cop was just kind of hanging out, and here comes Chadwell walking across the street with a fucking case of beer, and then he tried to run, and they got him right there by TK's house. So I'm not saying that means that he knows him. I'm just saying, like, hey, definitely means that they were very close, similar type people in a way. Yeah, I agree. I always think people like that, if you look close enough, you can kind of find stuff that they've done, other stuff.
To honor the lives of 2 girls murdered earlier this week. Our Eyewitness News reporter Carrie Klein begins our team coverage for us tonight. She's live in Delphi, where people are finding their own ways to say goodbye to Libby and Abby. Carrie?
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, Jenny. There has been a steady stream of cars pulling in here to the parking lot at Delphi Community High School, and a steady stream of people all afternoon waiting to get inside the school, anxious to pay their respects to the families of Libby German and Abby Williams. Actually, people started lining up well in advance of the start of this event. We got here, we have some video from when we first arrived around 3 o'clock this afternoon, and the visitation wasn't scheduled to start until 4. But even then, you could see the parking lot already full of cars, a line of people already formed outside. No doubt, hearts are very heavy here in Delphi.
That's
and,
harsh,
this is
French.
also a way for community members to support one another. Now, Naomi Garcia Nava lives here in Delphi and has 3 children that attend the schools here. She's here to help. She spent the afternoon volunteering, tending to the needs of the family and handing out food and water to those leaving the visitation. For her, this is personal.
It was unbelievable. It is Delphi after all. It's family. That way I've always put it. It's everyone knows each other, so I could not believe what was happening. It was very shocking.
We're all sort of hurting a little bit. If we could share that, maybe it might be easier.
And Dennis Walker there on his way into the visitation. He just moved here 4 years ago, but he said from day one, this community has surrounded him and supported him. And in some small way, he just wanted to be able to give back. Now, we have seen groups of people standing in the parking lot talking, again, supporting one another, just a gathering point, a touch point for the community today to get out and support one another. We understand there are grief counselors from the community inside, and they've been at the school all week long to support the students and teachers, and they'll be here next week to continue that support, as the district says they're trying to maintain as normal a school day as possible. Now, tonight at 8 o'clock, there's going to be a lantern lighting and launch again in honor of Libby and Abby, and we'll be here for that and bring more to you tonight on the Night Beat. Jenny?
Tony, you have a guilty conscience. Do I live in Indiana? No. Damn. Well, I think the part that bothers me on a daily basis is how somebody can just lose their grip on reality, and it leads them down this path where they think that they can kill other people or they can harm children, stuff like that. I don't know where that comes from. Um, how do you start from a point of being born and you're this sweet, innocent baby, and then you grow to an age where you can just become a monster? Like, how does that happen? And even scarier are the ones who know that they're monsters and they hide amongst us. You got hearted. Yeah, I don't know any of this because even what law enforcement says, we've realized is not fact. We've listened to what the family has said. We now realize that none of that is fact. We've read affidavits and interview transcripts, and we know that not all of that is facts. So if there's anything that we've learned is that law enforcement may have nothing. You need this guy to turn himself in. It's that simple. Like, I'm pretty sure your family will get over it, eventually. I've heard a couple different things about that, Susan. Susan says with DNA ancestry, why haven't they tried it? If they have DNA, several murders solved that way. Lots of murders are solved that way. Most murders nowadays, cold cases, are solved that way. But I think Indiana might have some strange laws in regards to that. I think people in Indiana might be protected from that. I'm not sure. It's still a fairly new technology. Yeah, DNA, what a crazy thing, huh? And what's crazy is if they have DNA and they say, "Oh, we're going to look at some transcript stuff." I promise I won't bore you to death. What I did was I pulled 6 important pages that I've been looking at. I just highlighted them and noted them. We'll go over those, and then we'll take a look at the video and analyze the motion bridge guy video. I don't know anything about that. Johnny Depp and Amber Hertz. Amber Heard or whatever. Yeah, you could do the opposite. If you can become some ravaged, sick maniac killer, you can become like some helpful, positive force for good. But I guess the same thing that creates these wicked people, it seems like years of reinforcement, Because like I said, when you're born, you're a sweet baby, if you put your finger in front of a baby, you're I don't think there's ever been a time where a newborn baby who's reaching out for somebody's finger like smacked it away and like gave it some evil look, Like they don't know that. They're taught that kind of stuff. So how does that happen? Yep, I'm wondering if the killer was there at the memorial. And one thing I wanted to talk about was by watching these early videos and listening to interviews with Kim Riley, things were like much more simple for them at that time. Like people were walking into the police station and saying, "Hey, I know the guy. I know who that is." And then they would go check the guy out. That's how it was the first few days. People were just walking into the police station, saying, "Hey, I know that. That's James Lucas." That's funny, Jim.
And father of Liberty, German. Just got off of a bike ride coming out of Delphi that I was done in her and Abby's honor. That was a pretty awesome experience. Thousands of people were in attendance. So normally I could go things from the cuff, but my mind's been a blur of these last few days. So I took the time to write some things down that I want to make sure I get out there to the people and make this statement. So I raised Liberty since she was 3 years old. We've had her in our home. My wife and I's relationship with her has been deeply sown with love, as we're allowed to play two roles in her life, both grandparents and parents. She's the love of our life. We're a very tight-knit family with love pouring throughout our lives. There's not a day that goes by this was not shared between us. Our minds at this stage are stirred in the deepest sorrow one can imagine. It is my sincere hope that no one experiences what my family is going through at this time. Liberty was taken away from us, and this will be a void that will forever leave a hole in our souls. Yet we find strength in our faith in God and our Lord Jesus Christ. The outpouring support from our family, friends, neighbors, local community across the state, the nation, and even across other continents is unlike anything we've ever observed. With all the kind words shared with my family, we have yet to find the one statement that will take this horrible pain away. As I remember Liberty, she was so active and full of life, involved in every sport she could play: soccer, softball, volleyball, and swimming. She was extremely smart, taking all high-ability classes and maintaining an A average. She had a love for music and played the saxophone in the band and would often pick at a guitar in her room. What we would give to hear some of those off-key notes today. Her favorite class was science. She was determined to play a part in the field of sciences. Many times we discussed what she wanted to be when she grew up. It always circled back to science. From crafty projects she did to strange experiments she was doing, always asking me to make her something from wood, plastic, or whatever, so she could run off to her room and turn it into something special. The hundreds and thousands of texts, emails, phone calls, and thoughts are welcomed and do help us travel down this path of grief. While we work to thank everyone for their support personally, I apologize if we do not reach out to you, as this is so overwhelming we cannot keep up. Therefore, we offer this statement as a token of my family's sincere appreciation for all the sympathy expressed upon us. We're thankful for the rapid response and professionalism displayed by local area fire departments, EMS, other emergency response personnel who answered the call. We're also thankful for those who helped us in searching for Liberty and Abigail. We're thankful to friends, neighbors, co-workers, perfect strangers, called off work and spent all night searching the area with our family, merely because they felt compelled to help. We're grateful for you all. While our law enforcement officials have combined efforts and are diligently working to solve the case and bring some closure, please know if anyone out there has any information, however small it may seem, please reach out to these officials so the person or persons responsible for this can be swiftly apprehended. If you know anything that may help support our search for answers, we invite you to call 844-459-5786. With Liberty's life taken from our world way too early, there are some things we'd like to do and honor her life. We are working to create a scholarship fund to help others seek to further their education, as Liberty was committed to doing the same by pursuing a college education. We also want to honor her by supporting the sports programs she loved. To honor her both memory and passion for these things, we've established a GoFundMe account available at gofundme.com/liberty-german. Thank you again for your thoughts and prayers. May Liberty and Abigail rest in peace.
Will lay 2 murdered teens to rest. Abby Williams and Libby German were killed last week, and while their families get ready for a heartbreaking last goodbye, the community is rallying to support them. Mary Mills is in Delphi this morning with the latest show of support happening today. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Naomi. I want to show you that there are still lots of ribbons like this up across town. They are teal and purple in memory of the girls, their favorite colors. Also here at the courthouse this morning, getting underway here shortly, yet another fundraiser. Members of the Latino community will be collecting donations here from 9 until 11 a.m. on behalf of the girls' families. The outpouring the past few days in this community has just been incredible. Yesterday, more than 4,000 people showed up for a motorcycle ride to raise money. That's 1,000 more than live in Delphi. Each rider paid $5 and $20 for the bike, so they raised a lot of money over the course of the day. Then in the afternoon, hundreds went to the visitation at the high school. They lined up the entire 4 hours of that visitation. Many said they were angry, sad, and scared, but also so proud of how their community has been coming together to support the families. Now, after the visitation, people wrote messages to the girls on paper lanterns before releasing them into the night sky. Just a beautiful sight. Also talked to 2 members of the Gear family. They were selling bracelets to raise money and honor the 2 girls.
And you just sit around and you think, what can I do to help? And there's not a lot you can do and not be in the way. So he came up with the idea of making the wristbands, just kind of unity in the community and support the families at the same time.
My mom told me about it, so I've just promoted it on all like my social medias, and I didn't know them personally, but it's a small community, so one thing happens, it happens to everyone.
And as Naomi mentioned at the top, both of the girls will be laid to rest this afternoon. The burials, funerals are private so that the families have time to grieve on their own. Certainly continues to be a very, very tough time for everyone in this community. Should also note that as the kids head back to school, there will be counselors available through the week so they have of what's happened. And again, Naomi, in the next half hour or so, we will be back telling you more about what's going on here at the courthouse today.
And Mary, you know it will be a very tough day. Thank you so much. Meantime, investigators are working around the clock this weekend to find the person responsible for their deaths. Detectives used several tips from people around the community to serve a search warrant at this family farm in Delphi late last week, but they didn't find any solid evidence. No one has been arrested so far, but police are hoping one of those tips will lead them to this man in the photo here, who was spotted near the area where Abby and Libby were last seen. They're hoping he might have some information that could help with the investigation. And if you have any information that could help police, you can call the anonymous tip line number you see on your screen. That number is also on our website at WTHR.com. You can also find it on our app. Police are encouraging anyone with tips, no matter how small, to call them in.
All right, let's take a look here. Get these all situated. Okay, now I wanted to talk about this page specifically here because it refers to some type of money. Almost as if Anthony Schatz was sending money to Liberty. Now, if he's sending her money and he's sticking to the story that, you know, he just talks to 50 girls at a time. He sends them all the same pictures, sends them all the same messages. Okay, that's fine. That makes sense. I could see that. But you're not sending all those people money. Why are you sending Liberty money? So that means that you know her specifically. Or did she send him money? No, it says right here going to her. Sorry, I was sneezing. Still having really bad allergies. Let's see, what page is this? This is page 156. So it says here, we have multiple device logins from your house. He says, right. On Canal Street for a Snapchat account within minutes of one another. Keegan Klein says, right. And they ask him, okay. We have the day that you gave your polygraph and your interview. You were steadfast. And I met them at the beginning of February, like the 1st or the 2nd. You were steadfast. You never came off that. I never spoke to her beyond February 1st or the 2nd. And the guy says, look, we know you spoke to her the day she was murdered. You said, absolutely not. I blocked her. She was annoying me after the 1st or the 2nd, right? We have these images. You saying that's not, that's a nude. What are you for? Okay, so that goes back to a comment. Who was it that made that comment? Can you put that comment back up there? So basically, she would not send the nude. So what are you good for? He's saying that's why he blocked her. But then they go on to say here, we have these grooming pictures. We have the money, the Anthony Schatz money account going to her. Right? So this starts to stack after a while. I mean, small town USA, but independent of each other. And Keegan Klein says, right. Like, yeah. So let me see what notes I put here. KK might be texting 50 girls at a time, but I know he isn't sending money to them all. This proves he knows Libby much more than he admits to. So I said that earlier. Yeah, but then it starts to stack up, right? We have the Kick Messenger messages with all these my daddy references. What the hell is that about? And he says, right. So that must be Keegan. Comes in with the young profile and leads him to his, which is him, the older profile. Investigator says, with regardless of what you say, there are two different authors of those messages. Regardless of what you say, right? There are not both you. They're both your devices. They're mixed, but the phrasings are different. It changes. It's not the same person. So we know we have multiple account logins with Snapchat. We have two different people using the Kick Messenger. All right, let's go right to the next page, 157. Says here, people from your residence, I mean, all that 100% sure, we know it. We know it for a fact. So remove yourself from the bullshit and trying to pick out every individual piece, it starts to stack. It just keeps stacking. The phone, your phone that you had, all your search history was deleted from 210 to 215. There's nothing in between. So now that's interesting. About that is all those other phones have complete histories. Nothing's gone. Keegan's like, okay. So during the time frame where this grooming would have been built up to meeting, it's gone. It's wiped away from your phone, but your other devices are complete. So now it all starts to stack to complete the complexity of your Anthony Shots persona, the cars, the influence, the Lamborghinis, Ferraris. Yeah. It's not you. It's not your idea. You and I both know it's not your idea. Keegan says, what do you mean? That's not my idea to take pictures of money and stuff and send them to people. The complexity of it, okay? It's just not you. He says, I don't know. Is it? I mean, like I said, the only other person that had access to my phone is him. That's literally it. Not at that time. No, I promise you. Anytime, not in Vegas. So friend 1, DH. The word shouldn't be blurry. He says, right, not in Vegas. Yeah, when you're searching nonstop about the Delphi investigation, when you're supposed to be on vacation, when you're still actually sending Snapchats to Liberty when you know she's dead. Messages. I don't even remember doing that. Well, I'm telling you, you did. That's a fact. And then, like, that could be me sending that message to a ton of people, like on Snapchat. I would do that all the time, send them to 40 or 50 people. But once again, yeah, but you're not sending money to them all. So you're obviously lying. I know what you mean. I had nothing to do with that. So, I know. I get she's dead. I get you guys want to find somebody, but I literally have no clue. When you walked in here, you said, I'm not a car guy. I'm not. Well, I know what a Lamborghini is. What do you mean? Well, of course everyone does. But a Lamborghini 458 Italian, that's what that car is. And I'm not a car guy. I don't even have my license. No, I'm a broke guy. I'm not, I have. So we'll go to the chat here before we move on. Carrie Gold says, I remember reading there were an issue with the coroner's office at the time of the crime or shortly after, not meeting certain standards, if I recall correctly. Could be one of the roadblocks. That's the first I'm hearing of that. The complexity in the flashy cars is a TK thing. Yeah, they definitely were leading a little bit. D says, or was grooming her Purdue RN. He sent me money. He must really love me to build up trust, maybe to make more open to meeting in person. Yeah, but that dude didn't have any money. So who sent her the money? Maybe that's the key, Unless Keegan's lying, maybe he does have money. It's all just clear as mud. Maybe KK, as Anthony Shots, was just a blundering idiot. Maybe somebody else was hard-driving businessmen buying dirty pictures. Maybe Libby caught on and made a threat. I'm not sure, because in the transcript later on, it says that she was fully convinced, like she was smitten. So I'm thinking that's how they got her out there. She went to meet him over at Freedom Bridge, is what I'm thinking. Didn't show up. Instead they're being stalked, basically. but they don't know that the same person that's stalking them is Anthony Schatz. They figure maybe he couldn't make it, or they were late, or he just blew them off. And, maybe they were just killing time. Let's go out on the bridge. Let's kill time. And then sure enough, here comes that creepy guy, and they got to book it all the way to the other side. So page 159, and they just got done asking if he was a car guy. Yeah, I know. I know what cars are. Well, let me ask you, why would you, after you failed the polygraph about knowing about the Delphi investigation, come home, delete your Snapchat and your Instagram, which you used to communicate with Libby, and search how long does DNA last? Why would you do that? I have no clue. I don't know, probably because they DNA tested me. So keep in mind, Keegan has had 3 years to think about how he will answer these questions. Remember, he's been a free man. So they obviously have DNA on that body, because why else would you DNA test me? So why would you worry about your DNA being on the body? I wouldn't. Then why'd you search it? Well, it's a common question. That's just a common thing to freak out about. Like, why? You know what I mean? No, I don't, because you giving DNA. Well, right. So you obviously know I didn't do it. They answer right. So they're telling him right here, we know you didn't do it because the DNA doesn't match you. He says, yeah. But then you're starting to think, why would you search the DNA? So they're going back to somebody else searching. But this is a question for all of you guys as well. Let me pop back here on the screen a little bit. Okay, so if they have Keegan Klein's DNA, then technically wouldn't they know if the killer's DNA was related to him? Right? So if it was like a Tony and they have Keegan's DNA, if they're able to say, hey, look, we know it's not you, Keegan, because you don't match the DNA. Okay. Doesn't that eliminate him and his father? Right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So why is everybody so convinced that it's Tony Klein? Because it's seen right here, or unless they're just messing with him, unless they don't want to tell him, like, well, yeah, it does match you. We know it's not you, but it definitely matches. Maybe that's something they didn't want to say. Maybe that's one of their cards. Let's see. I think I pulled a couple more, and then we'll go right to that video. All right. So I think we're all caught up on the chat here. Yeah, I agree with this. RR. KK is smarter than you think. Money was the motivation. Yeah. And I mean, if they're going to Vegas, what are they doing in Vegas? We're about to look at that here. And this could be the key as well. So when I'm done reading, it's just 2 short pages. I'll give you my opinions and then I'll see how you guys feel about it. So this is actually, we jump a little bit further down into page 169. So he says, I mean, DH, basically friend 1, don't have no weed. And I really don't. You said he sells you weed. Yeah, but I'm saying but you associate him with, okay, well, an ounce is a lot different than a pound. But why? The cops are going to come raid his house over an ounce of weed. If he's selling weed, absolutely. Okay, well, you guys need something better to do if you're raiding people's houses for an ounce of weed. So he just gets 1 ounce and gets it and he puts it on the table and goes, that's for Kagan. 1 ounce. That's how I'm going to make money as a drug dealer. I'm going to sell 1 ounce to one particular, did I say that? Person. You said all he has is 1 ounce of weed. What I'm saying is a small time drug dealer is a lot different than someone that's selling pounds of weed. That's a big difference. Then why were you good friends with them? Well, why do you think? I had no job. I mean, put it together. You know what I mean? Figure it out. So this is where he's talking about a friend of his. He was meeting somebody in Las Vegas at a friend's request. So we're going to look into that a little bit more here. Yeah, see, it's interesting. Mailman was slipping. He would have to be like not his son, but if you look at them, you can see the similarities. You can tell that they're father and son. I can see it. Okay. Sorry about the barking. I think the wife's home with some groceries. All right, let's continue on here. Let me throw this back on the screen. Zoom in. So he says, well, why'd you blow him off in Vegas? See, and I don't know if I think Keegan thought they were talking about friend 1, but instead he says who? KT? And KT is his supposed drug dealer friend, right? And this drug dealer friend had him looking to meet somebody while he was in Vegas. So he says here, who? KT? Because I needed to get him weed or nothing. I couldn't get him weed or nothing. I could not get anything he wanted. And I looked for it out there. And I'm sure you looked at my phone when I met that guy, right? I'm sure you know me meeting some guy in Vegas. You know about that, right? So the notes I put here were almost seems as if Keegan is fishing here, as if he was meeting somebody in Vegas for something much more sinister than weed. He might be searching for how much they know at this point. I think the one thing I'm concerned about is the guy you're meeting. I'm saying, like, I met the guy to talk to him about weed. And this is kind of like him double checking at this point, you know? What do you guys think about that? So it's his friend KT, some supposed big time drug dealer, sells pounds of weed, is communicating with him while he's in Vegas, while he's trying to meet somebody. Do you think that has anything to do with it? Maybe that has something to do with the money account. Maybe KT is the money. Yeah, there you go. See, Emily, something like a snuff video, some type of something. Or maybe even they got paid by somebody to do a hit, and they went to Vegas to launder the money or something, you know? Vegas is a just sketchy ass place. Like, what are you doing down there? So that's all I really wanted to show you as far as his interview transcript. So let me pull up that video here. Let's take a look. Yeah, Kurtz is still definitely very suspicious. Too many boxes. Too many boxes checked on that guy. Just to overlook him, you know? Yeah, I mean, Kurtz for sure. I mean, his history with Ron Logan, his knowledge of the area, his violent criminal history, you know, he's a convicted killer and suspected in another catfish case. And the Delphi case is actually a catfish case. So, I mean, he's just as interesting as Keegan Kline or the connection to the Anthony shots, in my opinion. What's up, Callie? Montello, Nevada, where 19-year-old Dylan Rounds has gone missing, is just as high in Las Vegas. Scary for a town with population of 59. Yeah, there's some kind of connection. I just wish we can get through all these rumors, because there's all these rumors that people with Nevada plates were seen in Delphi. Well, he says he doesn't drive, but then they kind of sneak a question in there where they say, so what are you driving? And he says, oh, just an old Trans Am. So he admitted to driving right there. And then there's also uh, somebody who was interviewed said, no, that he drives all the time. And apparently it's something in Indiana, like it's something a lot of people do. Hey, what's up, Mindy? How you doing? Puppies do not like lightning. Yeah, Garrett Kurtz. Yeah, there's something I mean, if they can prove that he had something to do with that Ray Hanish case, yeah. I mean, they definitely got to look at him a little bit closer here with Delphi, especially with his testimony to open secrets. But then again, he's facing all those charges. He could just be making stuff up, try to give him some type of currency, some type of something to barter with, I guess. The rumor mill says yes, that he is still sending him money and visiting him, stuff like that. That's what I've heard. Well, if drugs are involved, you could pay somebody, let's say, in weed. It's like, here's a pound of weed. Will you go ahead and catfish and kill this girl for, as revenge or whatever? Her father, turned state's evidence against me and my friend, and now we're in big trouble. I remember being a young teenager and hanging around a rough crowd and hearing a lot of shady stuff like that. Like just certain people, you just know that there's that certain person that is willing to take it just way too far. The Lieberts. Never heard of that. Well, that's one thing Zen Monkey said, and Tony always wrenches on old cars, so they could easily have a shady car for a getaway vehicle, for sure. But one thing that interested me about Gabe Ellis was he everything he did was in a stolen car. Like he was a straight outlaw. Like whatever crime he did, he was in a stolen car. Like when I was 13, 14 and running around as a criminal, that's rule number 1. If you're going to do anything, you have to do it in a stolen car. So that's probably why they're looking for the driver. Because either the license plate was stolen or the vehicle was stolen. Who knows? Maybe they found it somewhere in Peru, dumped. I wonder if the car is part of, stuff that they have a lot more information about. Maybe they found the car, dumped somewhere, stolen vehicle, and maybe it had a whole bunch of different DNA in there. But guys, I'm gonna have to get out of here. It looks like my wife is here. I'm gonna go help her with the groceries real quick. I can hear her pulling up and the garage opening. So on that note, I want to thank you, everybody that showed up to the Sleuth Intuition channel. Here, we're always working on the Delphi case. If anything, bring attention, awareness, put pressure on the killer and anybody who knows about it. And if anything, we can kind of at least wrap our minds around all the strange information in regards to this really strange case. But on that note, I will see you guys soon. I appreciate you stopping by. Take care.